the question just asked was, is it appropriate to share everything when, like, what you might share might be pretty confronting to the individuals who are hearing what you're sharing? My feelings are that when you are in a completely humble state, you will automatically share everything with everyone. And you will not edit yourself on any occasion with any individual. Now, there are certain situations where it's not possible to share everything you think with somebody because, for example, you might be walking down the aisle picking up things in a supermarket, somebody comes passing the other direction who you know. Now, you're shopping, and so, of course, your primary activity is the shopping, and you can't really get in a conversation of, yeah, you look pretty bad today, and, you know, like all that kind of conversation in the shopping centre, so you may actually have those feelings, but because you're actually doing something else which is your primary activity, you may not share it in that particular place. But you will not purposefully edit yourself in order to present a facade to another. Now, the majority of us do this. The majority of us do purposefully edit ourselves in order to present a facade to another. And we do that through all sorts of means in our day-to-day life. In fact, if you think about your average day, you know, in your day-to-day life, if you even think about Friday. So what did most of you do Friday? Yesterday. Is it yesterday? Yes. Friday. I'm still trying to catch up. What did you do yesterday? Work? How many of you worked yesterday? Yeah. You have a job and work? How many of you did something different yesterday? Home? How many of you were home yesterday? How many of you live with a partner at home? Yeah. How many of you are by yourselves when you're home? Okay. So, quite a few. Okay, so let's say for those of you who are home, what did you do? Is it too hard to even share that? It's like, oh
no. I was sorting out my tax, which was very boring.
Sorting out your tax, very boring. Okay. Yeah, I'll skip that bit about the morning masturbation, and I'll go. That's what we do, isn't it? Automatically. You see, what we're doing is we are constantly editing ourselves, presenting something in terms of what is allowable socially, what we feel is socially acceptable. The problem with socially acceptable is that it creates a facade that everybody is okay with. Now, the problem with that is that you can't be yourself with that facade. All of us are uniquely individual, are we not? We have unique personalities. Like, hopefully, you've never met another person like me. And I've never met another person like you. Right? Now, we sometimes meet people that are similar and who seem to have similar sort of issues or problems. But in terms of the underlying personality and nature and attributes of a person, every single person is unique. Now, if we all conform to what's socially acceptable, now we are removing our uniqueness, are we not? Now, in the process of removing our uniqueness, we are now also no longer humble, because we have to, what we're choosing to do, instead of accepting all truth, which remember was both the universal and internal truths, now what we're doing is we're accepting a universal facade, what is defined as socially acceptable. Now, in that place, there are going to be belief systems that I'm going to reject that would have been true that I could accept, but I reject it because it's not socially acceptable. How many of you found it difficult to tell your family and friends today that you were coming along to hear this guy who thinks he's Jesus speak? Right? Why wouldn't you say anything? Because it's not socially acceptable. People automatically go, what? What's wrong with you? Of course he's not Jesus. Why would you come and listen to him speak? So you know, they automatically have a judgment, and it's our underlying fear of judgment that causes us to get out of humility and cause us to not feel everything, not passionately feel everything, including what it feels like to be judged. Right? So instead of doing that, what we do is we don't accept that. We're saying basically to the world around us, I don't want you to judge me, and I'm going to modify my behaviour for you so that you don't judge me. But for the other person who doesn't judge me, I'm going to be a bit more open and because I know they'll accept me. Now that now is allowing us, in one situation, we are no longer ourselves. Is that not true? And in that situation, we're no longer ourselves. What I'm saying to you is, in that situation, where you are no longer yourselves, you are now not in a state of personal truth. And because you're now not in a state of personal truth, you now cannot receive God's love in that moment. To receive God's love, you must always be in a state of personal truth, as well as universal truth. Right? Now, for the majority of us, God's love is still present there, ready to enter us, but we just can't receive it because we're being fake. We're being fake with people around us, or with God, or with ourselves. And as a result of being fake, having on the facade, we are putting a block up to what God created us to be. God created us as unique, personalitied individuals. Unique attributes and qualities and characteristics inside of each of us. And He created us to become that person all the time. Now, if I'm modifying that, if I'm changing that and manipulating that, then I am automatically disconnecting myself from what God intended me to be, and therefore I'm automatically disconnecting myself from God Himself or herself. I'm automatically breaking what I could have, a permanent connection with God, but I'm automatically breaking it. Now, the majority of us live that every single day of our lives. We go through these cycles where sometimes we're in personal truth, sometimes not, and the times we're not receiving God's love. In fact, we're barely receiving love from anybody because we're having to barter for love in that moment. Can you see? Every moment that I am not myself with you, I am now having to barter with you. I'm presenting something that's not me to you in order to get something from you. It might be just your approval or no judgment from you or something like that. But I am trying to be something I am not. When I'm trying to be something I'm not, I am now setting up this arrangement that even if you love me, you're not loving the real me. You're loving a facade of myself. So if I am not my real self with you, and you are not your real self with others, any love you receive in that place is actually received by the facade and not by the real you. That's why it doesn't feel as good. Love only generally feels good when it's received by the true self, the person you truly are. The same applies with God's love, and this is something that I'd like to discuss further with you about God's love.